What's up, y'all? I want to welcome y'all to another episode of TPS Media, and I'm here with my man, known him for a minute, Evan Guillory, man. How you doing? How's everything going,
Doing
man?
good, man. Doing good, man. Just chilling, hanging out.
Chilling, hooping and stuff. Okay, tell the people where you from. Where you got started, how you started hooping and things like that.
Right, right. So originally I'm from Joplin, Missouri. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lived in Neosho, Missouri for a little bit. Moved to Joplin. And now I stay out in Springfield, Missouri. So growing up, uh, more in the countryside, not really city life. And then once you move to kind of a more urban area, Joplin, Springfield, that's when hoops kind of started taking off for me. So I've probably been hooping since around seriously fourth, fifth grade. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, fifth grade, and I would always travel once I got to that AU age, seventh, eighth grade. Travel out of town, to those bigger cities, Kansas City, St. Louis, Tulsa, to get exposure and start hooping like that.
So I know both of your older brothers, Darian and Grant. So
Yeah,
give me some insight on growing up the youngest in the family. And I know it was a bunch of battles y'all had on the court and off the court. So get into that for me a little bit.
for sure. I mean, man, being the baby brother, we all know how that goes.
Right.
Always getting bullied, picked on, stuff like that. But at the same time, there's a certain component to it, where you're constantly benefiting from being in that position, being the youngest sibling. It's like you essentially have the blueprint, to being the best you and making the best choices.
Mm-hmm.
Your big brothers are kind of like the trial and error. You see what they do and you adjust and you learn from it. Like I said, and you use it to kickstart yourself, man. But I mean, on the court, I mean, I'm talking about battles every day from the driveway,
I'm
you know,
already knowing.
parks to it's sometimes where we was even hooping on the same team, and you think we'll get mad at the other opposing team, but the whole time we beefing with each other on the court, because
Uh-huh.
we're so competitive as brothers and stuff like that. That the simplest thing in the world could be a competition. It doesn't matter what it is. You playing cars, bro. You could be trying to tie
Racing to racing to the car is a competition, man.
racing to the car. Yeah, racing to the
On
car
me.
competition, man. But yeah, it's always been battles, man, on and off the court.
So talk to me. You got some bounce. So I know you've been dunking for a minute. So tell me about your first like regular dunk where you just like was trying it during the middle of a or going into like a pickup game or something, and then give us like your first in game dunk.
Okay, so my first dunk ever, uh, had actually been it was seventh grade summer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've been practicing for months, man. It was like at that point where it's like I'm up there, but I'm just missing constantly.
That's the
And I
hardest
remember we
part.
were in Joplin at the downtown Y. I was with my pops, and I had set the phone up, and I was like, today's the day I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
it. I had a tournament that weekend, so I was feeling good. Got a workout in. I'm gonna get it. I mean, I was sitting there trying to dunk, man, for probably like an hour and a half for real. I mean, my legs were gone. I'm just sitting there
Dead.
trying. Uh, and then I finally got one. It was 1 foot, right hand, little baby dunk right over the rim. I was geeking, man. I was jumping up and down, screaming. I was telling my pops, like, man, I got my first dunk. He over
Mm-hmm.
there just not even he okay. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
pop
You supposed to do that on
he
me.
goes through that exactly. It was one of them things. And my first dunk in a game, I want to say it was the next summer. I had started dunking, but it was like I would always get a fast break and be wide open, try to dunk it, miss.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my eighth grade summer. I went to go play for Mocan, and this was. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily a game; it was pickup. But this was the craziest thing ever. Uh, it was the first day of tryouts. They invited me up there to play. Uh, and we were playing 5-on-5. Man, and I just remember it. I stole the ball at half court. My boy Devon, man, Tulsa, Oklahoma, rest in peace, man. But Devon was trailing me, trying to come up and block him, man. I jumped, and another kid, I don't even know who he was, man, but he jumped too. So my first dunk was actually in like a body on
It was
two
about. Oh no.
on two people, and so yeah, I went up. He hit me in the chest, and the other kid just jumped in the area. Boom, man! And it was one of those dunks where it was like, I honestly I got hit in the face, so I couldn't even see the rim. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, the motion, you just already going.
It's
Uh,
muscle memory.
yeah, muscle memory.
Oh
So I
man.
dunked that man, and literally, I mean, right after that, we finished that pickup game. I was on the team just from that, solely from that dunk. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was the first pickup of the whole tryout. Got on the team, you know, within the first 2 hours. So yeah, that was my first real dunk on somebody and stuff like that. And then, like I said, middle school, got out of that, and then high school just took off. It took off. I mean, my freshman year, I was dunking in games all the time, two hand, one
Mm-hmm.
hand reverse, anything, man. Like, so that's how that's been.
So you mentioned high school. So talk about playing varsity as a freshman. We played y'all.
Yeah,
I want to say it was in Joplin. That's the first game I seen you play because I remember Tori. Shout out to Tori. I remember he told me he was like, "Hey, y'all need to be worried about me. Y'all need to be worried about Evan." I'm like, "Ain't he a freshman?" Like, because I ain't seen you play. So I go up there and watch because I wasn't playing this. So I went to go watch. I want to say you had it at the least like 25, and it was overtime too, maybe.
yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, playing. So the craziest thing about that is, you know, my oldest brother Darian, he got the opportunity to play varsity. He declined it, but a seventh grader, man, in the
For
Osho,
real?
they tried to get him up there in seventh grade in the Osho to play varsity.
Sheesh.
So I feel like I was always in the back of my mind, like I got to get on that level. I got on that type of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember it was my freshman year. They gave me one practice. They gave me half a practice with the freshman team, and they literally stopped the practice. And the coach was like, "Evan, they need you in
Go
the
down
big
to
gym." And when
go down to
you hear the big
varsity on
gym,
me.
yeah, you hear the big gym, you start getting so you like, "Oh, this is real now." Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and then literally I went up there. I didn't practice. I just watched the. It was about 30 minutes left. I watched the varsity practice, and then after that, you know, Coach Hafer, this was the head coach job at the time, was like, "Hey, starting tomorrow, you're on varsity," and I was like, "Oh, wow."
Right.
But I had recalled though in middle school, man. I mean, one, the whole city would be at my middle school games, but he was high school head coaches, the assistant head coach, everybody was at that game, you know. So it was
Mm-hmm.
something I did expect. I just didn't know it was gonna be that soon, man. But playing varsity as a freshman, I mean, it was an experience. And obviously I struggle, you know, it's a different level. Whatever you do, you know, as a freshman, it's always gonna be a struggle, different level.
Mm-hmm.
But I really adjusted super quick, in my opinion. It took me a few games and I was
Locked in.
locked in, just like
I'm
that,
already
man, just
knowing.
like that. So yeah, that was an awesome opportunity and experience, man.
So get in the let me give me your favorite or your best game in Joplin. It could be freshman or senior year or freshman to junior year because I know you transferred. We'll talk about that. But give me your favorite game between freshman and junior year.
Man, my favorite game freshman and junior year. Mm, I would have to say it was the Christmas tournament, Kaminsky Classic, and we were playing what were the William Chrisman, team from St.
Mm-hmm.
Louis, and I think I had like 28. But what made that game so special was semifinals, and it was just packed. You know, and Joplin has a big gym, and that's the
Man,
first time I was like, man, this gym is actually packed, seriously. Uh, and basically, yeah, I was cooking the whole game, dunking on people. But what made it so special was we were tie game, 5 seconds left. They're at the free throw line. Miss both. I grab the rebound.
uh,
Take off on the left side, drop cross, and the crazy thing is I probably did a spin move from the free throw line. Like seriously. Spun from the free throw line. And as I'm falling, I just throw it up. And I got the and one.
gamer. Oh
Gamer.
no.
Gamer, man. And that's all over the news. That's when I was like, okay, yeah, like this is getting to that point where, you know, it's clearly a difference. You know, it's clearly
Yeah.
levels at this point. And I think that was my sophomore year. It was my sophomore year. Yeah, I had 28 with the game
See.
winner. I was like, all right, yeah, like it's getting the levels at this point for sure.
So, like I mentioned, you ended up transferring. So, was that the game where you like, okay, I don't think nobody can really like mess with me, and I need to get up out of here and get some, not on no cocky stuff, but
No,
you hoopers know, like, yeah, I shouldn't be playing with everybody else. I need to go like play for a private school or something. So, talk about that and getting your decision to transfer to New Hampton in New Hampshire.
yeah, for sure, man. And you know, with that New Hampton move, it was wild because one, nobody expected. I kept that decision on. Um, I kept it quiet until literally the day before. But it was one of those things, man, where it's like I'm in Joplin, you know, and you're playing local talent and some out of town guys. And by the time, like I said, by the time I hit my sophomore year, man, I was like, I gotta level up,
Hmm.
and like you said, not being cocky, but just confidence. They're physically first was nobody who could stop me. Um,
Hmm.
and then it got to a point as well where I was getting recruited. So my sophomore year, um, I was getting some serious looks, man. I think my best looks were like Iowa, Missouri State, um, and a few other D1s, Kennesaw State. Um, and the thing that kind of slowed me down with that was I remember Iowa told me straight up, they were like, yo, we need to see you play better competition. We love your game, we like what you're about, but we have to see you play elite competition, because I'm sitting there dropping 20, 25 on who, it was
Yeah,
almost on
that's
who.
facts. You.
So in the back of my mind, that was always there. I was like, I gotta get out, I gotta get out.
Hmm.
And then eventually it got to a point, my last year there in Joplin, that summer going up to it, we were at a shootout, man, and it was easy, with all respect to everybody I was playing, but the competition was dying in the area. You know how it is
Hmm.
in this area,
Yeah, if
competition.
y'all, if you from around Joplin, Springfield, it's like it's real rare to run into like a 3 or 4 star. Like it'll be some, but it's rare than when you'll be playing like other private schools and playing other stuff.
Yeah, it was super rare, man. So, uh, yeah, we were playing in a shootout, man, and it was kind of like a realization for me. And I was sitting there, and I was just like, I can't, I can't be here anymore. Um,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, I remember like it was yesterday, man. It was literally the first week of school. It was the first week of school,
Hmm.
and uh, I went to my classes Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday night. I was talking to New Hampton, and I was like, let's do it. Tell my mom, let's do it. Whatever.
Bro,
Let's get to it.
that's a
I didn't
big, it's a
you
big
show up.
move though.
Yeah, it was a super big move, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my head coach, man. Um,
Mm.
and so I go to school on Wednesday. Walk up to him. I'm transferring, just like that. I'm transferring. Told my favorite teacher, I'm transferring. Told two
What
people, I'm transferring.
what was your like? Did you what came about it? Like, did you talking to any other schools? Like, or was it just straight New Hampton? Like,
Oh no, man. I was talking. So, I mean, Chaminade. For those who don't know, St. Louis school.
mm,
Jason Tatum, Tyler Cook. They had been recruiting me since my sophomore year. Um,
mm,
and there was some issues with that because the Chaminade coach had actually called my high school coach to recruit me,
that's different.
which is different
Yeah,
because if you have a very talented player in this area and somebody calls you to recruit them, a prep school and a high school is gonna go south. So
right. Every time.
there was some words exchange. Chaminade was pushed to the side, um, and then my final decision making was New Hampton and Sunrise Christian. So
Ooh,
so in
okay.
my eyes, I didn't really know New Hampton too much, but I knew Sunrise and it was down the street, and I was like, "Oh, that's a no-brainer." Only issue was at the time, Caleb Love was in the mix too. So it
I
was
didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, so yeah, this is great that I'm breaking this down, but
Hmm.
I remember they were like, "Yo, Caleb Love's thinking about coming as well." So you might have to be a backup point guard. And I was like,
I'm not transferring to be nobody backup.
I'm not a
Mm-mm.
backup, I'm not a
On
backup.
me.
I'm not a backup. But New Hampton was recruiting me and my AAU teammate Ty Berry, playing in Northwestern now.
Hmm.
He was recruiting, and I thought we were gonna be a package deal, man. But it was funny. New Hampton wanted him more than me, but then I was trying to go to Sunrise. So we actually flipped.
He went to Sunrise. You went to New Hampton. That's
He went to
crazy.
Sunrise, I went to New Hampton. So we switched programs just because it was a better fit. And I was like, I'm not going to be a backup. Like I'm trying to hoop. So we
Right.
switched programs, and we flipped. And then yeah, New Hampton, my first year there, man, we AAA champions, played Brewster. Their starting five was all top 100. Um,
Hmm.
Terrence Clark, rest in peace. Um, yeah, they had a squad, man. But yeah, we won, got a ring my first year, made history. No New Hampton team's
Crazy.
ever done that. Yeah, and that was their first league in that first year in the highest league. So that was amazing for me, man. And that experience in New Hampton was different. Oh, it was
Yeah, show me, talk to me about the culture shock going from Missouri because I feel like the biggest one would probably be the weather. Like Missouri get cold, but up in the east, you got to talk about that because I know it was cold up there, boy.
I mean, yeah, it was a culture shock one.
Hmm.
Like living in this area, you don't see mountains. You don't have
At all.
snow up to your, halfway your waist.
Hmm.
Um, Even how people talk out there is different. Everything out there is like a polar opposite of the Midwest. Um, and the altitude one, I remember my first week of practice, I could barely breathe because the altitude was so different. I was really in the mountains. My prep school was in the mountains for real. So I was struggling to do sprints. I'm coach. I need a second,
Right.
but that whole experience was different, man. I mean, and I enjoyed it. It's one of those things where it's like when you're in those moments, you don't like it. You dislike it. You're like, oh,
Hmm.
why this? But you reflect on, you like, man, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And even just the
Right.
training. I mean, I was on a college schedule in high school. I was doing college workouts in high school, thanks to
Hmm.
prep school. But you wake up, you see these mountains. I think one of our conditioning tests, yeah, one of our conditioning tests, bro, we ran, so we had to summit the mountain, but the conditioning test was you have 30 minutes to get halfway up the mountain.
So y'all, wait. Y'all was doing conditioning in the actual. That's
Mountains,
crazy.
in the actual mountains, bro. So I remember they had a truck following people, but you had 30 minutes to get halfway up the mountain. And if you
Did you
pass,
make it?
oh, for sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let
Oh, if you
me
make it,
not
you
say
make the
let me
team.
not say for sure, but like I was there, it was a struggle, but I was definitely there.
Hmm.
But it was funny because our trainer at the time was probably in his 50s, man, and he was the first one up there. He
He
was the
probably
first.
used to it though. He
Yeah,
probably been doing it every year type stuff.
yeah, he was the first one up there, bro, which was insane. But yeah, man, and then my trainer also Tony Murray, Coach Matt Bonner, Steve Nash, worked all those guys out.
For
Um,
real, that's
well,
crazy.
that's the big difference too, right there itself. Because local high school, you have, people who are teaching in the classroom, and then their spare time is to teach you and try to help you with sports, as opposed to people whose literal job is to help you get better at basketball.
Right. That's a big gap I think is with like private and public school is coaching. Like, cause like you said, in Missouri you got full time teachers and part time coaches. Where private schools you got all they do is coach. Like they go home, they watch film. Coaches that's coaching at high schools and over here ain't doing that.
At all, and that's why it's hard, man. And a lot of times now, or you see the current climate actually in the sports world, it's prep school like this, you know, um, and I think that's amazing. But at the same time, it's like, man, a lot of hometowns are losing that fire in sports. Their sports are dying out even quicker because kids don't want to stay around and put on for their city. They don't want
Right.
to. They
They
because
trying to
they
go get that offer.
exactly, and it's as simple as that, man. So yeah, no, that experience was hard. I was 17. I was 17, I believe, and that was hard living away from home because you're in an all boys dorm. I mean, my roommate
Ooh.
was German,
Oh. That
so
was could he speak a little English or was he
yeah,
like
he could speak English, but at the same time, it
okay.
was like he was full German. So there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff I didn't like, and there was a lot of stuff he didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Or that he knew about, but you know, we were just so different. And mind you, this is me coming straight from the Midwest
Mm-hmm.
in high school, raw, still trying to figure stuff out, still emotional and just immature. So there was a lot of clashing heads, man. But to this day, man, that's my guy. But
Mm-hmm.
it's experiences like that you don't get in those high schools. And to me, it was bigger than basketball. Like the education, making friends. I have friends all over the country, all over the world now, man. People in Spain and
Yeah.
Germany and Australia, London, stuff like that. Just because I went to prep school. So yeah, that was 10 out of 10 experience for sure.
So you brought up like being basically it being like an extra year of college. So let's get into college. Talk to me about your offers, like your like I'll say your top three biggest offers, and then after that, give me like the craziest visit story you got for me.
Okay, for sure. Man, so this is the crazy thing for me. I had so much buzz going through high school.
Mm-hmm.
But with me is I went to prep school. And so my first year championship, national champions, boom, now I'm creating buzz. I'm talking to people. Open gyms, we had Indiana in there. We had Northeastern in there. We had all these big schools in there watching constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then COVID hit. So my last so when I'm about to commit to college and get offers, COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
So not only and I think COVID season we played Brewster, I think probably like 15 times. 15 times, but
Jeez.
you're playing ranked ESPN 100 kids night in night out. You're playing league people night in night out. So yeah, for me it was hard because I only finished college or high school prep school with 3 offers solely because of COVID.
Really?
Because
Yeah.
people couldn't come in and see me. So I was talking to these schools, man. My biggest school was Cal Berkeley.
Okay.
And the story behind that was the assistant coach at Cal Berkeley was the same guy who was recruiting me at Iowa. So
Connections. That's stuff like that. I've heard so many stories. I didn't mean to cut you off, but my
there you
fault.
go.
But I've heard like so many stories where it'll be a coach at a different school and he'll go to another school and they're like, "Well, we need a two guard." Well, I got a dude I was recruiting at my old school.
Yep.
It's that's you got to know people,
It's as
and
simple
that's
as
the
that.
crazy part.
Simple as that. So yeah, he reached out and we were trying to make it happen, trying to make it happen. I remembered out he was like, I want to offer you so bad. And I called him like, what's up? Like, let's get the offer done, man. Like, I don't have any
Mhm.
offers right now because of COVID. Nobody can see. And I averaged 23 and like 10 my senior year in the best prep school league in the country.
Right.
I remember the rankings for the East Coast. I was what? I think I was fifth. And around me, well, my other teammate who's a UConn now,
Mhm.
Alex Carabin, great guy. But it was me and him up there in the top 10, and I was the only one in the top 10 without an offer. Everybody
Really.
else was ESPN ranked, and nobody could wrap their head around like, okay, how's this kid the top 10 best guard in the East Coast, and there's no offers.
Mhm.
There's no offers, no nothing. And there were so many people constantly writing me reports and writing me up like this kid is a top 10 guard easily. Like this kid is the truth, man. But like he just doesn't have the offers. Because as soon as I'm on the rise like this, man, COVID stops it.
Man.
And all the film was there. I'm playing against Vanderbilt commits, Arizona, dropping. Uh, I had 30. I had 30 against Brewster.
Mhm.
Starting guard, South Carolina. Shooting guard, Arizona. Small forward,
Jeez.
Memphis. Power forward, UCLA. Center, Vanderbilt. And it was
Four,
all
five,
there.
and
It's
five.
all on film. It's still out there, bro. So it was one of those things where it's like, if you really saw me play and you knew me personally, you knew easily, oh, this kid is a no-brainer. He's top to top.
Mhm.
But just like I said, man, COVID, really damaged that. But yeah, going back to the offer situation. So my head coach coached at University of Vermont when he was he's a grad assistant. So, he had connections there and also I played with the head coach's nephew. And I kind of,
Mhm.
from a defensive standpoint and physical, I fit in perfectly with the system. Hard nosed basketball, great defender, can get a bucket.
Mhm.
Um, and that was really it for me. And the crazy thing about it was Cal Berkeley. Back to that story. I remember Vermont offered me November, and they were like, "Yo, we want you now. Commit. We'll get you up here early in January. COVID.
Joe.
Like, so you might as well come up here and just work out with the team, be around."
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Sounds good. But I'm sorry, coach, I'm gonna have to wait. The whole time I want Cal Berkeley. That's all
Right.
I
I'm
wanted.
already knowing. That's big time. That's power
That's all
five.
I wanted. Pack, yeah, yeah. That's all I wanted. I'm like, I need Cal Berkeley. I can't. So boom, we get to February. Cal Berkeley talk. Hey Ev, you know, I'm trying to get out there and see you. We really want to offer you, but I have to see you in person before I pull the trigger. I can't offer you off of film. I
Mhm.
understand that, coach. When can you come out here? Into April.
That's
I'm
too
like,
far.
it's too far and it's too much uncertainty.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, you got to be joking me. You got to be joking me. He's like, I'm sorry, man. And he was like, we also have 21 kids on the roster
Mm.
because with COVID, people were staying. That's when that rule got in place. Okay, you can have the extra year. Then the transfer stuff, that's when it just got crazy. So he was like, yeah, man,
Yeah,
like we got kids returning, like people aren't leaving like they're supposed to because of COVID. We forfeited our season, stuff like that. So, and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, but I had to go to Vermont. I had to.
yeah,
That was my only choice at that point. And the coaching staff, head coach, great guy, I still talk to him to this day. That's my dog, man. But that's all I had. That's all I had. So went there, man, and that was history. That was a historic run. My freshman year of
yeah.
college, that was wild.
That was
That was
crazy. So we're gonna get into that. Like you said, y'all had a historical year. I want to say off the top of my head, y'all went 28-6, won conference, and ended
yeah.
up making it to the big dance. Man, talk about that. Talk about the one thing I want to hear about for real is probably the watch party because I'm assuming y'all had one for sure. So get into that and get into how excited that was making it to the big dance and stuff like that.
I mean, man, I that year was ridiculous. Let me tell you that. That was a year where it was like you watch your childhood dreams blossom right in front of your face without
Mm,
even realizing it though. So going there freshman year, D1 you got to go in the summer. So I'm out there in the summer, and I tell you what, that was the hardest summer of my life. That was the hardest summer of my life, man.
man,
It's amazing to see how quick you adjust, adapt to your environment. When there's guys better than you, bigger, older. So it took me, and this is pretty fast for a freshman. It took me about 2 months, and I was locked in. I mean, I was there, man. I was the only underclassman playing my freshman year.
mm,
Um, we had obviously because of COVID, we had 8 seniors, I think, and I was still in the rotation, man. And I had some opportunities. I had a lot of good opportunities my freshman year to play in big games. I remember we played Yale, and I got put. This is why I really admire my coach looking back on it because I didn't realize in the time, but I remember we played Yale and I was sitting down the whole game. Didn't get in a minute. Now I look up at the clock. It's fourth quarter. We're down by 2. 5 minutes left. Looks down the bench. Evan. I'm sitting there like, you got to be joking me, bro.
he did that. He had to do that on purpose. He was like, "Yeah, let me throw him in the fire real quick."
I was like, you got to be joking me, man. So I go in there and I'm guarding Azard. I think Azard Thompson, I want to say his name was. Leading scorer, averaging like 15, 16 a game. He's a pro now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, man, I was just so mad. I get in the game. First possession, he comes at me full full speed, drop cross, 30, 35 feet away, pulls for a three. My hands up. Whoosh.
Mm.
Evan.
He took you right out.
Took me right out, man. And I was just like, you gotta be joking me, coach. Like, what's up? Like, but that was he was doing that so I could be even more focused, ultra focused, man. And I got a lot more run after that, man. I think the most I played my freshman was around 15 minutes, and it was against Stony Brook, I believe, and I had 8 points. And that was like the highlight of for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I had 8 points in freshman year, 15 minutes. This is great. This is awesome.
Right.
And we played. This is a funny story, man. We played Albany, and I got a fast break. And this I played like 15 minutes this game too. We played Albany. I stole the ball, fast break, went up for the dunk. My leg gives out, and so I airball the layup, man. And I get up, and me personally, I knew that my leg gave out, but I get
Mm-hmm.
up and I'm looking around like that's a foul, it's a foul. So my coach sees my reaction. He's going off on the ref. That's a foul, it's a foul. Everybody's mad. Everybody's mad. Goes to halftime, and I'm getting nervous because at halftime, they review the clips and they watch
Yep.
the highlights. And I'm sitting in the corner like this, and he's mad, like, yeah, they fouled Ev. And then the assistant comes up to him. He's like, Coach, watch this. And you watch it, and the dude just ran next to me. My leg give out, and I'm like this, and it just drops. The ball just drops, and he was like sitting there just mad, bro. He was like,
Nigga,
Ev,
like
give me
I almost got a take for you, and you didn't even get touched.
exactly. Yeah. But that's freshman activity right there, bro. That's freshman
Mhm.
activity. But yeah, going into later in the season though, the March Madness run and the watch party like that. So we were at the watch party. Like I said, man, this is a childhood dream come true. So I'm seeing it and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm really about to go to March Madness, man. And they were selecting us. University of Vermont. So we're all like, yeah, all right, cool. And it's who we're playing,
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas. And all the older guys are more composed, and they're just sitting there like, I'm over there, ah, screaming. I'm all up in the camera,
Mm-hmm.
screaming. And my senior grabs me. He's like, yo, chill out. What are you doing? He was like, bro, like you can't do that against a team like that because that's gonna make it look like we looking down on them, like, oh, we about to, whoop them, stuff like that. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. I was a freshman, but I mean that watch party was legendary, bro. Senior your team name get called, and then just
That's
reflecting on
crazy.
you get a private jet flown out.
Where
Super.
was where was y'all game at?
We played in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, so that wasn't even that wasn't too far. You didn't have like a 10-hour flight or nothing.
Not at
So
all,
that's
which
pretty
was
good.
which was better though because we had more fans.
Oh yeah, true.
And,
You
and
closer. It's
yeah, and the thing about the East Coast is it's weird, and I didn't know until it happened. But UConn fans and Vermont fans are like family essentially.
wow.
So we had UConn fans that are because UConn played after us too, but we had UConn fans cheering us on at our game. And the whole arena was packed. I think it was. I got a video on my phone, but it was a what 40,000 seater or 30,000 something like
Ooh.
that. But I mean, I'm looking up like walking out the tunnel like, whoa, like this is real. You see
I'm
the
assuming that's your biggest game, like your crowd wise. That was your biggest
Yeah,
game.
that was my biggest game for sure. And I just
Jeez.
remember warming up. It was crazy. I was warming up on the court and I'm standing right next to the ESPN broadcaster with the camera. And I'm sitting there just like, he really just on the court right next to me. Like I could touch him. He was right there. And they got the camera cords on the court. I'm like, this is
Mhm.
crazy. Like, this is it. This is it, man. So, that game went on. And we lost by 4, man. But and this is obviously biased because I played for Vermont at the time. One, we should have won. Two, we
Mhm.
were playing against the refs because that
Yeah, I
upset
was watching. I was watching. Yeah, it was a couple like calls. I'm like, come on, bro. If it was
yeah,
the other way, y'all would have called it.
that upset would have been ridiculous. That would have literally threw everybody's bracket up for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, that experience is one that I can say I'm blessed to have that and something I'll never forget. There's plenty of players who never, no matter what level, never
Right,
get to experience that, man. So for me to do it my first year in college, get a ring too, that's all I can ask for. That's all I can want.
right. So let's get into, you transfer. But I got a question before you start talking about transferring altogether. Do you think like going on visits, your mindset was different from coming out of high school and then transferring from a college? Do you think like you looked at the visit differently from like when you were in high school, like saying your mindset or something like that is what you're looking for in a college?
100%. And I think that because one, you're coming out of high school, you have no idea how college is. You're
Mhm.
just like, all right, I want to go to the flashiest school with the biggest name and who wins. And
Right,
then when you're transferring from college to college, you're like, I want to go somewhere that fits my career path, but also is the best for me personally. You
right,
don't you don't necessarily look for the biggest name schools because now if you got talent, man, you're gonna get found. Doesn't matter where you play, what level. You got talent,
right,
you're gonna get found. So now it's like you're evaluating the school as like, okay, can I see myself living here? What does the education side have to offer? And when it comes to basketball, the right questions to ask. How am I going to be used in this situation? Okay, well, what's the practice schedule like in relation to classes? How's the travel? What are we doing for this? What are we doing for this? In college, like I said, I mean, coming out of high school, like I said, you're just like, all right, whatever's the biggest name I have, that's where I'm going. So yeah,
mhm,
it's a whole different mindset, solely off of maturity.
yep. Because I know when I was going for track and stuff, like I remember, I looked at it this way: my high school visits, my mom asked all the questions. My college visit, she probably asked like 4 questions. I asked the other
Like,
20, 25. I was asking everything. I'm like, all right, what we doing like for recovery and this, that, and the third. So I wanted to people, I wanted you to elaborate that for the people because like a lot of people just think you just go on the visits and it's just for the flights and for the hotels. No, you look at this like a job interview, like a business. So it's just a lot of more aspects that I wanted you to explain. So I appreciate that.
no, for sure.
So talk about the buzz coming out of leaving Vermont. How hard was that decision to leave after the season y'all just had, and talk about the offers and ended up going to Southern New Hampshire.
Yeah, and I'm glad this is a great question you asked because this is hopefully when people see this too, they'll have a whole new understanding of what's really kind of going on with me.
Mm,
Vermont, great place, but same time I'm a kid from the Midwest, living in Vermont, up north.
right.
Not easy to do, not really a diverse environment at all. So
Mm,
I left there, it was hard to do. It was extremely hard to do. All my guys were there and stuff like that. Um, but I did it, and I had opportunities to go Division 1, but it wasn't really places I wanted to be. Like it was more like, okay, I'm going D1 just to say I'm still D1.
yeah.
And it was UMKC. I could have went to UMKC off the bat, but
Mm,
being from Missouri, it's like I don't want to go back to where.
yeah. That's exactly how it was.
And with Snu, it was like it was a last second decision because it was like I'm not one. I was like I don't want to go here. I didn't like it at first, but at the same time, it was the best for me because it was like I can go in here, get right to work, no questions asked.
Right.
So this is where the maturity kicks in. It's like, yo, you can't get caught up in this whole level, this and this school, this school, this school. You got to do what's best for you. So I did that. Had an amazing year. We made history again, and let me say that too, man. I've been blessed because I made March Madness 2 years in a row, and I've had two history breaking seasons 2 years in a row.
Right.
So it's been ridiculous. It's been crazy. Like I can definitely, as far as right now, I can deem myself as a winner. From high school, got in the ring to college, get in the ring. So like I can definitely deem myself as a winner at this point in my career. But yeah, that was not an easy decision going somewhere in New Hampshire. So yeah, I did that, man, and it was a different beast, bro. You go from 20,000 kids to 2,000 kids.
Yeah.
You go from packed out, thousands of people sold out games to nobody in the gym.
Man.
And I left, but I left with that swagger. I'm like, I'm a Division 1 basketball player. Y'all can't touch me. Y'all can't touch me. And it translated. It was hard because like there's something you're not going on flights. You're taking buses and you're doing this and doing this. So that was hard for me to adjust because I was mad about that. I'm like, bro, I'm too good for
So
this.
it's a whole different budget when you get to D2. So it's
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So and the thing about D2 is if you're not a top D2, then you're like a JUCO. If you're not a top 5, top 10 D2, you're like a JUCO, man. So there was a lot of moments there where it really humbled me, man. But it made me such a better person and a better player because it
Mm,
brought that dog back out for sure. It was like you got to get it. You got to get it how you can. There's nobody there sitting there trying to work you out. You got to go to the gym by yourself, get it in. So yeah, man, that experience was crazy, bro. But I was blessed to have it, but it was definitely time to relocate after that. That I did 1 year there, but it was definitely time to get out of there, man. Because like I said, I went there and I got snubbed too by the coaches because they didn't like me because I was a kid who knew my worth. Not my
mm,
own coaches, opposing coaches, but I was a kid who knew my worth, man. And I was dropping 20, 25, and my best game this past year was I had a 30 ball.
mm.
And I knew my worth. I was like, kids aren't you're not drop kids aren't dropping 30 in college unless they're elite. You know what I mean? No matter what
That's
level.
hard.
So
That's hard. Yeah, right. Exactly. I was about to say it don't matter. D2, D1. It's
yeah,
hard to drop 30.
it's hard to drop 30. So I did that. And I was like, yeah, it's time to say deuces, man. So yeah, I did that, and um, I am where I am now, man. I'm out there in California, man. Top program, man. Um,
Mm,
Great roster, great staff. That visit was amazing. Fell in love with California off a rip.
man.
And my head coach, the crazy thing about it was my head coach left. So when we played Arkansas at Vermont March Madness game,
Mm.
their head assistant coach is now my head coach.
Crazy how the world
People don't
works.
know that. People don't know that. I'm glad we're having this. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
now people, Ev's over here now. Okay, word. Let's see what he does. Background. There's a familiar face there for me, but also, he just had 3 guys go to the NBA draft. So he's solidified in coaching. He's a real guy, great guy. Great staff. But that was kind of for me. It was like it was a no brainer, man. It
Mhm.
didn't matter where he was at. It was like, okay, this guy just left, got the job 3 weeks ago. Literally just left Arkansas. Yo, we want you. You know what it is
I'm
with
on
us.
I'm on the way.
I'm on the way.
Right, on
Let's
me.
go. Let's go, man.
So let's get into your goals. We on the back end of this interview, by the way. But let's get into your goals for this upcoming season, man. What you got, points per game? What you looking at, like team wise? Talk to me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna get right to it, man. I'm trying to one. I want to have a 30 game season, 31 game season. No games. If we can go 31-4. They went 31-4 last year. If we can go 31-4, that'd be great. I want to compete for a championship. I want to win conference.
Yeah.
Um, Personal goal is 16-7, if not more. All
Okay.
American, All American. So this is a year for me where it's like
You
this is
can go
homecoming.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. This is like okay, people have seen the build up, but now it's like it's time, man. It is time to go. So I'm stoked about that, man, and I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get it done too. But yeah, personal goals, like I said, All American and stuff like that. And for my team, I just want us to experience success, the highest level
Yeah.
for sure.
So we brought up college and stuff. So give me your favorite two guard to watch film on, or who you model your game after. It could be NBA, it could be somebody in college still. So give me somebody you watch film on a lot.
Man, and I don't really play like him, but I admire this guy's footwork so much. Devin Booker.
Hmm.
I admire his footwork so much, man. Like that guy is just he's special. So as far as like the pivoting, my mid range game, him and DeMar DeRozan, I definitely model that mid range game after DeMar.
The
That's the
Marvy, that's
question.
his game is crazy on the mid range because you'll have. I've watched a couple of like even in Toronto, but I feel like his game has matured so much in Chicago as far as mid range. So it'll be games like a dude will have his hand right here, bottom of the net. I'm like, there's no way. So that's a good two for you. And we had another question, but we all know who the best two guard is ever. So that's really not a
Oh,
question.
sure.
Right. So give me your most underrated shooting guard ever in your opinion.
Oh, my most underrated shooting guard, in my opinion. I would have to go with Brad Bill, man.
Okay.
I think people don't understand how good Bradley Bill is.
Hmm.
I mean, the dude essentially led the league in scoring, I think last year, the year before, by itself. He's a terrible
Man.
team, but his game is just so different. The ISO game and you know, seeing somebody in the league doing it all by themselves self on a bad team is hard because they're losing. But it's like you put them on a talented roster, Suns now, it's gonna be a big difference, man. It's gonna be a huge difference. So yeah, him and I also used to watch a lot of people don't remember him, but Alonzo Trier.
Yeah, bro. I don't know how he had the rookie year he had, and he not on no team now. And I
Mhm.
understand a lot of the players, like they're like, okay, I know I'm not gonna be able to get the rock in the league, so I'm gonna just go overseas. That may have been his decision, but even then, we seen what he did on the Knicks his rookie year. Like he's Alonzo Trier was like that, still
No,
is too.
he still is, man. But yeah, he was a guy. Honestly, I love guys in the league who can really get their own shot. That's what I try to look for. Anybody who can get their own shot. I had a phase where I was in so much admiration for Colin Sexton because he a dog. He's a dog.
Dog, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that's my guys. I try to, model after and take just little small pieces of their game and incorporate them in my own.
Okay, okay. So, it's the last question. You got somebody for us to, bring on the show, man? It could be any sport, any division, anything like that.
Man, for sure, man. I'm gonna try to. Hopefully, we can get this done, man. But I want my boy Alex on here, man. I feel like that'd be good, for people to hear, from back home.
Hmm.
Alex, he just won a national championship at UConn. So,
Okay,
you know, reach out to him and hopefully we can get that done. But I feel like that'd be great, for people to hear success at the highest level. Uh,
right. Natty,
the Natty,
yeah.
yeah. So hopefully, we can get him on this show, but that's for sure who the people need to hear from, for sure.
Okay. Well, like I said, lock that in. Get me connected with him, and we're gonna be good. But I appreciate you coming on, man. We've been trying to get this done for a minute. Like I said, this is another interview with Evan Guillory. He'll be at Cal State San Bernardino, correct?
Yep, yep.
Yep, he'll be in Cal State. So make sure y'all keep an eye on him. I know I will. So we're gonna wrap that up, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.